Welcome to the Week in Italian Startup, where we discuss the latest highlights happening in the Italian tech and investment ecosystem. Tes Pharma, a biotech company raising 10 million from XGen Ventures and Foro delle Arti. So, pharma and biotech, definitely not a sleepy vertical, definitely one of the most interesting in Italy, one of the quickest that we always see effectively like moving. I would talk a little bit about both XGen Venture and Foro delle Arti, which is a very interesting vehicle. So starting from Foro, essentially this is like a part of the group of company of Brunello Cucinelli, the fashion mogul. He has a foundation basically supporting very, very interesting causes, both in research and in tech. And through Foro delle Arti, basically they have started actually investing in very, very meaningful projects, mostly from researchers. So quite a unique entity here. I don't know if you've seen this before. For me, it's the first time I've seen this Foro delle Arti, but pretty interesting angle.
Yeah, same for me. The first time that I meet the holding company by Cucinelli, yes. It's nice that it diversifies quite broadly outside of fashion with things that somehow impact life in the broadest sense. So, nice approach.
Yeah. No, and he's one of the most thoughtful and insightful entrepreneur probably right now, which are active in Italy. So definitely a great signal here. So super interesting. Talking about XGen Venture, XGen is a pretty young fund. They tend to invest internationally in life science, mostly Series B and Series C. One of the partner is Federica Draghi, which has a famous name, of course, for Italian, economics in general. And they've been very active and very interesting track record in the life science sector. So yeah, their focus is biotechnology and medical devices, but not limited to that. I think right now they list about like 4 to 5 deals closed, and I'm sure we're gonna see like more happening in the future. The fund is pretty new, 2-year-old, so we'll definitely see more activity over here.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. Talking about the nuclear fusion, let's talk about Proxima Fusion, a nuclear fusion startup based in Germany, raising 20 million euro. So this is a German deal, Italian founder, transplanted to Germany, big fundraise. A few interesting elements here. One is the fact that this is a spin out of the Max Planck Institute of Technology, so of course, one of the top names in science. And a second interesting element is that part of the investment comes from Bayern Capital, which is the venture growth capital of the Free State of Bavaria. So Bavaria has an official venture capital arm. So, it's kind of Piemonte or Lombardy having their own VC fund in a way, which is an interesting angle, interesting take in terms of ecosystem. And it definitely tells something about how evolved the ecosystem is. So very, very curious, I would say.
I have to make you aware of the fact. Indeed, at least one Italian region has its own venture arm investing in startups. So Lazio.
You're right.
And remember, Innova Venture is basically the Lazio region investing in startups from the region.
So yeah, definitely good. Definitely a good model. So we are confirming the model. So that's awesome.
Well, it kind of makes sense.
What is also very interesting
the region
is
investing
the kind of
in good things coming out from its own territory. Why not?
Yeah. And we've been hearing a lot about nuclear in general. Well, starting obviously from nuclear, Italy's been talking about that massive deal. Definitely evolving really quick beyond the borders of Italy, France, and other European countries. So again, like a very interesting tech. One thing to mention, I think, is also the fact, sometimes we need to throw some new keywords to the listener, and this episode keyword is stellarators. Nick, that's very interesting. I didn't know what they were. Essentially, it's a type of device used to control super hot plasma with the goal of achieving nuclear fusion. So essentially, it's a bunch of magnets which are like extremely precision magnets, and the idea is to make plasma float in a way that nuclear fusion can happen and actually be controlled in order to produce a lot of infinite amount of energy. So very interesting technology for sure.
Yeah. The fun fact is that actually Proxima Fusion is first and foremost a software company. So that's what I understood from the description. So basically they're modeling the stellarators, looking for solutions in terms of materials, design, factor, engineering, using big computation and big data. So this is what I understood. So basically a software approach to design.
Yeah, definitely promising tech that requires like super advanced and sophisticated models for sure. So that's
I can only imagine the amount of variables I need to control in order to understand whether the plasma flow stays or doesn't stay within the magnet. So I mean, wow,
very interesting,
fascinating. The most fascinating thing is that actually the founders are Italian. More than one. So lovely to see this type of technology being researched and put on the market by the Italian team. It's very proud.
Yeah. No, the question is really at this point, like why something like that couldn't have happened in Italy? Why do we need the Max Planck Institute? I mean, I don't want to get political or anything, but maybe it's a food for thought at this point, maybe.
Yeah, this is a very good question. I really have no answer to that. But
Moving forward, Bending Spoon again. They're not stopping, and I don't think they're planning to stop. So Bending Spoon announced the acquisition of StreamYard Top Corp, also known as Hopin. Back in the COVID days, Hopin gained popularity as a premium online event platform. Before that, StreamYard was very popular among streamers and podcasters as a tool to actually manage a lot of content. So there was already something extremely active. Interesting move from Bending Spoon. Again, this is very tough to understand, like what stays in the back of their mind when they do these kind of acquisitions. I mean, we were trying to sort of put together like a sort of the constellation of different acquisitions to see what was going on in their heads. StreamYard, I feel it's kind of a little bit an outlier. I cannot really pin down like the connection here, but definitely interesting company.
well, I mean, so you're right. There is no easy way to picture what they're doing. So basically, I think that the end goal is to take over the internet. So basically, acquire every internet company one by one. In second best is probably to really expand the collaboration suite capabilities with stuff that can have network effects designed into the product in some sense, probably. So Evernote, Hopin in the sense is more or less, I don't know what is it now, because it was like when it was extremely famous during the pandemic, it was basically an online event platform. So they pivoted somehow, so towards collaboration, something like that. I'm not really fully aware of what they're doing, but that seems the direction.
Yeah.
So have a full stack of tools related to collaboration and productivity. That's interesting.
So very tough to say what's going to be next. Then at this point, it's going to be very, very tough.
Yeah, and things with a huge customer base, maybe not strictly speaking now, but they had huge customer bases.
Yeah, I mean, there is. So I was mentioning before that there is a nostalgic feel to this kind of acquisition, but it's really not like that. Hopin is pretty. I mean, it's pretty young if you really want to compute, but there is this fallen angel sort of like feel again, plus the base, the customer base. So there is these two ingredients, which is interesting. It's something that really peaked and then went down quickly, and then but still has value, still like maintain value of some form.
Yeah, good thing. It's a good stuff. Good reasoning. I like that one. So once upon a time, darlings of the market, but that have maintained some kind of proposition, some value.
Yeah.
Nice.
Winamp.
Well, that's. I mean, you're going back quite a bit in the case.
It's too nostalgic. It's way too nostalgic.
Too nostalgic. Yes, that's
way
too much.
Nostalgic.
Because I think basically the second best after Winamp would be ICQ. I think is it still around?
No idea. Interesting. All right, let's talk about CDP Venture Capital. So last Monday, they basically unveiled their 2024-2028 industrial plan. A few interesting insights. Let me maybe clarify a few of them, and then Nick, I'm really curious on what is your thinking on this. So first of all, the focus on AI and cybersecurity is definitely like a massive element of the presentation. So definitely AI has like a primary spot in whatever is going to happen next. They kind of underlined again that the healthcare, life science, agri-food tech, space tech, clean tech, infra tech verticals are still kind of confirmed. So a wide varieties of verticals also. Pretty much aligned with the original strategy, which is investing both directly and indirectly. So we still are having these kind of elements which have been like underlined. So there is like funds allocation for direct early stage investments, but also funds allocated for indirect newly formed venture capital firms or like vehicles, entities. Let's see where exactly that's going to go. So I think these are some of the two macro elements of the report. What is your thinking so far?
No, I agree with you. The feeling is that CDP with the new plan basically decided to show that they are growing up as an entity, because I think remember that CDP is quite young. Despite the numbers that they're doing right now. So I think they date back no more than 4 years. So they did a lot. So the next step is for them to show that after the big noise, the big rumor, the big thing, all the things that they moved on the market, now it's time to get more rational. To give more structure and give it, to have on all the foundation that they built, so create a more rational approach for the next 5 years. And I think it's a good signal that the plan is a 5 years plan. So it's not a short-term vision, like 3 years as the mandate, the CEO mandate would probably be natural to have. It's a 5 years plan with a longer vision. So very interesting. They still have this goal to engage the private capital, private investors in order to come on board and continue investing in the VC market in Italy. So the feeling is good, of course. So let's see how they deploy the plan.
Yeah, to give us a few numbers, I think basically they want to do 1.5 billion in 2024, 2.1 2025, 2.9 2026, and 4 for 2027. So very interesting ramping up of the different allocation. I mean, it's probably going to stay and will be still the biggest VC player in the Italian market without any doubt. So that's, of course, nothing is going to change that for the next, I don't know, 10 years, 15 years or something like that. So definitely like a major player. What I thought it was interesting was also that, especially for the allocation, the direct allocation, they are activating a late venture fund. So there is, I think, 600 million for late stage deals. So I'm very curious on how exactly they're going to execute that. Because for a late stage venture fund, that's not a massive fund. 600 million for late stages is quite nothing if we compare in international standards, but it's good that the input is there and they want to kind of also play in that field. So my guess is that things are going to flip pretty soon when early stage is going to have less allocation as year go by, and late stage slowly are going to be increased like as the different allocation move forward.
Well, that's a good point. Actually, the large ventures fund is already active. So it's basically confirmation in the current plan that they're going to continue to bet or invest on that part of the market. I personally don't believe that should be one of the focus of CDP, because I mean, late stage markets should be, really a matter of private markets. Even though, considering the way that they are approaching the various sectors, I do expect that the late stage fund will take a very keen look at the strategic verticals they identified. I mean, that's not a matter of VC, pure VC. It's a matter of, that's a strategic sector for Italy as a country, so I want to take a slice of that. So it's a bit more literally strategic investments than pure
I agree.
financial.
I mean, my thinking was
investments.
really that what's going to happen when the fund is basically going to look for returns. Maybe one way would actually be to find a preferred way to push interesting deals to bigger international investors to monetize deals and push this company even further. So I'm very much aligned with you, Nick, just saying, okay, they need to focus on early stage and then kind of help them push toward like bigger and bigger players. I think that's probably the most valuable way to actually proceed like here forward. So yeah, I think it's a good point. Yeah. Awesome. All right. So I think this is it for the week. This concludes the episode of this week. So we hope everything was insightful, and thank you everyone for listening. Thank you, Nick, for joining.
Thank you, Jack. Just one last quote for Higgs, who passed away at 94. So the Higgs of the Higgs boson, talking about
The
nuclear
Higgs boson,
fusion.
yeah.
So thank you for everything, really.
Awesome. That's awesome. Thank you, Nick. See you later.
Ciao, Jack. Ciao, everybody.